Hello, welcome to Monday's Notts Today. You can tell it's a Monday because my earpiece has fallen out and that would only have happened on Monday. I'm Al, hope you're well, hope you had a good weekend. This is what we've got for you on today's show. First, we're going to be heading to Eastwood after a government minister came to meet families affected by persistent flooding.
And they've been absolutely fantastic throughout this whole period. Neighbours have been supporting neighbours, but actually it is not down to them. We need to make sure that we have the proper facilities in place so this kind of damage doesn't happen again.
We'll have more on that shortly for you, and we'll be talking Broadmarsh and looking ahead to what's next for the former home of Wimpy. The sale of the land was confirmed last week, and it's emerged that millions of pounds in taxpayers' money has been spent maintaining the site over the last few years as well. And we've been to a Notts farm where primary school pupils have been sowing the seeds of life by planting new trees.
We find it really important that we can bring these guys in and educate them on conservation, because these are the guys that are going to follow it on. And yeah, it's been brilliant, they've really got involved.
Later on, we'll also be talking to the organisers of the Takeover Festival, which is quite literally taken over Mansfield. The creative event is running this weekend, and it's going to give young creatives the chance to show their skills across various town centre locations. And in sport, you'll hear from Notts County head coach Stuart Maynard. 2 penalties calls were denied in that game at the weekend, and they meant they had to settle for a 0-0 stalemate at home to Crewe.
I think there's 2 blatant penalties out there that everyone in the whole ground can see, everyone watching on TV can see. It wouldn't fall for us, but I think refereeing decisions have cost us today rather than the lads not taking their chances.
There you go, all that and loads more coming up just for you this Monday. But first, it's time to talk Broadmarsh again. The City Council announced last week that it has agreed to sell off the land to a developer, and it said work could get going before the end of this decade. The site's been under the control of the authority since former operator Intu went bust during the pandemic. New figures last week revealed more than £4 million of taxpayer cash has been spent maintaining the land ever since. So what could happen to the site? Well, joining us now to tell us more is our local democracy reporter, Joe Locker. Joe, so what was agreed last week then?
Yeah, it's a never-ending news story, this, isn't
Constant,
it? It makes my job easier, that's for sure. But yeah, so last week at City Council Executive Board, the council basically agreed to put the land up for sale to a buyer who is not yet named, so it's a mystery. But a slip of the tongue by the council leader, Councillor Nagat Khan, as she admitted afterwards, it's a public sector buyer, so that's all we know for now, but there's a little hint as to who it might be within that. So that the name of the buyer will be announced once the sale is complete. And this buyer allegedly has a strong track record of delivering complex developments. So for those out there watching, you can try and bet on who might be who might have be purchasing this site. So that's what was agreed last week. And the land that's being sold includes the sort of derelict shopping centre, as many people are aware. There's a bit of land to the west of the Green Heart which has been cleared. That's also in there. Sevens House as well, the old college site on Maid Marian Way, and of course, as we'll get onto in a moment, the Maid Marian Way car park as well.
Yes, that car park that you always like. It's the spaces are just too tight to turn a car around in, but that could be part of it then. That could be sold.
Indeed, yeah, and it's a bit of an eyesore, isn't it?
It's
really,
not the best, is it? It's not our best feature in the city.
Yeah, could argue. So yeah, it's a national car park. So NCP who leases the land off the council. So the council are the landowner, but NCP leases it to sort of do their car park role on there. Councillor Nagat Khan says, ever since the Broadmarsh car park, so that brand spanking new car park was built, the usage and revenue for NCP has dropped at the Maid Marian Way car park. So she says that they've engaged in positive negotiations with NCP. She's hoping for an agreement in the next year or two that'll allow them to clear that car park. Paving the way for new development and something maybe a bit more sightly. We approached NCP for a comment, but they said they weren't commenting just yet. So
okay. And all this, while it's been maintained, while it's just been sitting there doing nothing, has been costing taxpayer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people might think, it's a derelict site, nothing's going on, there's no sort of financial loss, but there's a lot behind it. This whole site needs 24/7 security, to stop people going into a potentially dangerous construction site. And that's ever since, it was handed back to the council by the former owner in 2020. So I submitted a Freedom of Information request to try and find out how much money's been spent on security and holding costs. So holding costs are things like, management, insurance, void costs, repairs and maintenance, that sort of thing. So it's about £3.9 million ever since, Intu handed it back. So that's 2.7 million on holding costs and 1.2 million on security of the site.
Okay. Wow. So, what's next? Who knows? But what's next as things stand?
Yeah, we've been saying what's next for decades, I think,
yeah.
haven't we, really? But, it seems, there's sort of a flicker of light at the end of the tunnel. But Councillor Nagat Khan, so the leader, says they're expecting the money or the sale to sort of finalise before the end of the financial year. So that's next Monday. So within the next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll find out who the buyer is and what they're planning to do with the site potentially. So, eyes peeled. We've got a bit more in terms of demolition. So demolition will sort of restart in July this year to clear the rest of the shopping centre and leave a little portion. And then construction is expected to begin in 2029. So, that'll be almost a decade since Intu's collapse, really. So a long time.
A long time. And we've been talking about it for way before then as well, haven't we? But we'll talk about it loads more. Thanks, Joe. Right, let's move on now, and we'll go from Broadmarsh to marsh-like conditions in people's gardens. See what we did there. We're going to talk about flooding in parts of Notts because a government minister visited Eastwood today, came to hear how flood damage has devastated homes in recent times. Floods Minister Emma Hardy spoke with people affected by incidents, including from Storm Babbitt back in October 2023, and she promised the government will deliver more than £2 billion worth of flood prevention measures across the country. Jack Sims went to find out more.
A sunny afternoon here in Eastwood. It's days like today that residents can take comfort, if only for a moment. That's because over the past 2 years, these streets have seen some of the worst of the increasingly wet winter weather. It began in 2023 with Storm Babbitt, which saw a heavy rainfall sodden more than 75 homes. Over the months that followed, these flooding incidents have continued, including as recently as January of this year. Although local authorities have provided relief and support, for locals, enough was enough, and called for stronger action against the floods. Today, the months of concern and worry were finally heard by Emma Hardy, the Minister of Flooding. She met with neighbours and local businesses about the impact the flooding has had on their lives.
Being flooded is a traumatic experience, and one of the main messages that residents have had to me is to understand the cause of the flooding, to understand exactly where the flooding came from, and that's one of the points I'm going to take away, go back to the Environment Agency and have that conversation, because only by really understanding what has caused the flooding in this area can we try and do something to mitigate it.
For Carol Bridgman and Rhoda Charlton, who have lived here for more than 40 years, this visit has given them some comfort that years of questions will finally be answered.
Sort of reassurance that things are being done to prevent such a tragedy in the future, because it's not just a physical tragedy as in your property's damaged and all the rest of it. There's very much a personal tragedy involved there.
The water was just flowing so much it was knocking us off his feet. That was quite dramatic.
Well, in terms of detail, we don't know a great deal, but I think that the positive thing is that she's here. But it's what comes next. It's always what comes next.
According to a report by Nottinghamshire County Council, the initial flooding by Storm Babbitt in October 2023 was caused by a culmination of factors. This included overflows from a nearby reservoir and blockages of debris in the nearby brook. The authority has recently invested more than £5 million to prevent flooding across the county. But for local MP Juliet Campbell, not even the strongest tides have been able to wash away this community spirit.
And they've been absolutely fantastic throughout this whole period. Neighbours have been supporting neighbours, but actually it is not down to them. We need to make sure that we have the proper facilities in place so this kind of damage doesn't happen again.
Although these new commitments cannot wash away the past, the currents of the community remain stronger than ever in Eastwood. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Right, let's see what else is happening in Notts today. And a man has been charged with arson following a flat fire in Sneinton. Police were called to Aberdeen Street about 1:15 last Tuesday morning. They became concerned for the safety of a man who was inside with a knife. 3 officers entered the block and rescued the man and were then able to detain a suspect as firefighters put out the blaze. Now 39-year-old Mark Kirkham of Aberdeen Street has been charged with arson with intent to endanger life. He appeared before magistrates on Wednesday and will appear before Crown Court next month. And detectives are appealing for witnesses after shop workers at an Aldi store were threatened by masked offenders during a robbery. Several offenders wearing face coverings and dark clothing broke into the staff area at the supermarket on Chatterley Parkway, Nottingham, just after 9:30 on Friday evening. They threatened staff and demanded money from the safe before leaving with cash. Police searched the area and are using CCTV to find the offenders, but say if you've got any information, you can get in touch with them on 101. Now, it was a quieter weekend for our teams in football because of the international break, but we've still got a bumper sport. We'll include the stalemate draw for Notts County and a huge cup win for Forest women as well. That's on the way next. Hello, welcome back to Monday's show. I'm Al Booth. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you're well. Shall we see what's going on? Okay then. Now, major works to a Notts School and Gymnastics Academy are almost £1 million over budget. That's because of problems with asbestos. The £27 million improvements to Rushcliffe Spencer Academy have been hit with a roadblock after fire safety measures and a substantial amount of the dangerous fire retardant asbestos material is found in older school buildings. Now, that means the project is £863,000 more expensive than previously thought. Once complete, there'll be a space for 560 extra pupils and upgraded facilities. And 3 fire engines were needed to help crews put out a fire at an electrical substation in West Bridgford at the weekend. The substation on Albert Road caught alight on Sunday afternoon. Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service said it was in attendance about 4 p.m. and crews said the incident was resolved from their perspective just after 4:45, but they also said it expected a couple of hundred homes to be without power for a few hours while the National Grid worked to restore the substation. Now, support website Not Alone is aiming to highlight the importance of mental health services in Nottingham. That's following Health Secretary Wes Streeting's comments that mental health diagnoses are being overprescribed. The website provides information and mental health support for people of all ages in Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. Educational psychologists and co-founders Dr Maddy Papula and Dr Orla Green are here now to talk about it, as well as many other things. Hello. Hello, thanks for coming on. So yeah, Wes Streeting then. Should we talk about him? What do you make about those sort of comments? I know he said it's overprescribed, but other people shouldn't be overlooked, to be fair to him. So
yeah, he did, and I think any kind of comments about overdiagnosis, I'm not sure what the evidence is for that, but I think what we really want to focus on with Not Alone, as you said, it's that kind of mental health for everybody, and making sure that if anybody is struggling with their mental health, then they know, particularly in Nottingham, where to go and where to get help. So this is why we've designed and created Not Alone.
Yeah, and we want people in the area to know that no matter what level of mental health difficulty you're having, whether you're having a bad day, week, a month, that there's information on Not Alone that you can access. And also, if there's someone in your family or your friends that you notice is struggling with something, there's advice on there also on how to advise and help people. So you can use Not Alone for yourself, or you can use it for your family or friends, or someone that you work with as a professional.
I think that's so important, isn't it? That aspect of it, because it's like anything. If you're going through it yourself, you kind of try and work it out yourself, or you know where. But if you've got, like, my children are 5 and 7, so too young. But my niece is 13 this year, and it's a worrying time as a uncle or as a parent or anything. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got a 13-year-old myself, so yeah, I completely empathise with that. And I think what we're really keen to do is to make sure, that everybody knows about this as a resource in Nottingham. You know, it's a free local resource where anybody can go, as you've said, as someone struggling themselves or a friend or relative. But what you also want to do is make sure that GPs know about this, you know, so if you're taking your child to the doctors, or if you're taking them to, or in schools especially as well, you know, if you need that help, advice and guidance, then everybody knows that Not Alone is the place to go for that. And you'll see that the website, when we designed this, so we designed it alongside Children and Young People originally. So we had a group of young people that were advising us on what they wanted to see on there.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, so we could have just gone on and designed it, but we don't know much about kids and their lives and what they need. So what they were really keen for us to do was not just list services on there, but they wanted somewhere to go that had a user experience whereby they could just go on and look at I feel like this.
Right.
And then follow an experience through the website to then end up with how they can get help. But it starts with, you know, I feel anxious, or I feel alone, or, you know, I've suffered a bereavement.
Right.
Those kind of statements that then link to getting help, but also really helpful advice and guidance and videos that other young people have created as well.
Yeah, and loads of the videos are young people from Nottinghamshire, so they're talking about, so for example, there's videos on there about difficult topics like self-harm, but there's videos on there from a young person who's experienced it and has been able to recover, get better, and they talk about what helped them. And as much as possible, we want the videos to be from real young people who've experienced some of these difficult things, because that's one of the most helpful things people share, that if they're struggling, just hearing, you're not alone, you're not the only person who's gone through this, there's someone who lives in your area, maybe in your school, and there's really practical ideas of what you can do to help. And I think for some people who are really struggling and they have no idea how to get out of a dark place, people have shared that just knowing that someone else has been there and they're okay now, just knowing that can be really helpful.
And someone from their peer group as well. You know, as cool as we may think we are, and down with the kids, as a 48-year-old, I am not in touch, like you say. So what a great example that someone can be spoken on that same level as well.
And I think so we originally developed Not Alone for Children and Young People, but in November it launched as an all-age website. So we did the exact same process with people with lived experience who were adults as well. So when we designed the adult site, we also made sure that we were getting their views about what they wanted to see on the site, about the different tiles and the topics that might affect adults specifically. So yeah, we're really proud of it as a resource, and we just want everyone in Nottingham to know that they're not alone, and there is somewhere they can go to get that help, advice and guidance.
And it's been taken out to schools as well. So are you having good sort of interaction there?
So we have set up an event now that we run every year in Children's Mental Health Week called Not Alone Live, and that's a really good example of how Not Alone is becoming more and more well known in our schools across Nottinghamshire. So this year we had a 2-day event with 700 children and young people from our schools in the area, where they came to the event to meet local mental health services, but also to do performances and to talk to other young people about what helps them, what promotes positive mental health, what things you can do to feel good, to feel included in your community. And so that's become an annual event now. And lots of our schools use Not Alone as a resource. So if there's someone in school and they say to their teacher, I'm really struggling because I'm really worried, they often refer to Not Alone. They say, let's look at the videos, let's get you linked up with a service, let's get some advice.
It's fantastic. Exactly. Thank you for coming on, that's brilliant. And so pleased you're doing that as well. Right, let's have a look at sports now. There's no Forest this weekend because the international break. We'll start with Notts County. They played but were unable to break the deadlock at home to Crewe on Saturday. It was a 0-0 draw that put a dent in their promotion hopes. They've now dropped to 6th place in the table following a win for Port Vale. Pies did dominate most of the game. They missed out on what they thought were 2 blatant penalties as well. Notts head coach Stuart Maynard was disappointed not to get more.
I think there's 2 blatant penalties out there that everyone in the whole ground can see, everyone watching on TV can see. It's frustrating because I thought first half we probably wasn't at our best. I thought, but you've got to give huge credit to Crewe, the way they come and got after us, and they got their press spot on in the first half. We tactically changed it at half time in the way that we want to play through the thirds and get out, and I thought second half the lads are excellent, and we deserved the win. Yeah, we changed it tactically. We had to get through that first phase of press. They come and pressed us a little bit man for man.
Weekend was more successful for Forest women, very much so. They're officially League Cup winners for the second time in 3 seasons. The Reds travelled to Walsall to take on Stoke. Charlie Wellings got 2 goals, and a strike from Mel Johnson saw Carly Davis' side see off the Potters 3-1. They took a 2-0 lead into half-time thanks to both of Wellings' goals. Stoke got one back in the second half, but then Johnson put the game to bed when she rifled a great shot past the keeper. And we'll have more reaction to that win and the lifting of the cup on tomorrow's show. Mansfield weren't in action this weekend, but the Stags have dropped to 17th because of other results. They had a weekend off because of the international break. They started it in 15th, but then a draw for Exeter away at Lincoln, and Peterborough's 3-0 win at home to Charlton saw Nigel Clough's side drop 2 places. They next play at Bristol Rovers on Saturday. Panthers have won 4 games in a row as they continue their push for the Elite League title. Danny Stewart's side found themselves second in the table with just 4 games left to play. They made it 4 wins on the spin with a 3-0 road victory at Glasgow Clan. It was their only match this weekend. Next up, they've got Manchester Storm on the ice at the Motor Point on Wednesday. After the Glasgow victory, though, head coach Stewart said keeping a clean sheet was key on Saturday.
I thought first period there wasn't a lot going on. I think they outshot us, but a lot from the perimeter. And then I think second period we knew it was going to be a tough night. None of these games are going to be easy, and Glasgow's been very good at home, very good against us. Second period, I think they probably had the better of the play, and Jason came up big for us there and kept the door shut. And then the third period, I really liked our third. I thought we got into our game and just played a really good, controlled, matured period.
Now, there's no Panthers action for you on Wednesday on Notts TV because they played away at the weekend. Their home match against Manchester Storm at the Motor Point on Wednesday will be shown to you on Friday from 7:30. Nottingham Rugby resumed their championship campaign with a high-score defeat away at Ampthill on Saturday. It's their first league match since January. It saw them travel to Bedfordshire, hoping to maintain their position of 4th in the table, but the Archers were defeated by a scoreline of 43-32. The hosts scored 6 tries, including a penalty try, compared with Notts' 5. The kick-in also helped Ampthill to victory. They got 4 tries converted to Nottingham's 2. However, next up for the Archers is a trip to Ealing on Saturday. Nottingham Forest Netball secured their first ever Super League win when they saw off Cardiff Dragons at the Motor Point. The match on Friday was their inaugural home match in the competition. It saw them secure a thrilling 70-54 point win in front of a lively home crowd. The result saw the Reds bounce back from a disappointing loss to London Pulse 6 days previously in their first ever Super League game. Rolene Strojka was named player of the match on Friday night. Right, picture of the daytime now. It's a gorgeous sunset captured at Coops, captured on Instagram. Got that one. Thank you very much for that. Let's have a look at your weather now. It's spring-like, isn't it? Clocks change at the weekend, don't they? So we're getting all ready for that. It's been a bit of sunshine today, dropping to 5 into tomorrow, which is going to be pretty much a carbon copy of today. Some sunshine, a little bit of cloud maybe. Just a nice spring day. And on Wednesday, it's going to be a little bit warmer, highs of 16. Right, coming up, we're going to find out why thousands of books are being donated to school pupils across Notts and how you can get involved with that. And also, if you fancy going out in the spring weather, I'll tell you where to go next. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today. I'm Al. Now, an extensive improvement programme to improve Mansfield Berry Hill Park has moved a step closer after work got started. The project will see new and improved accessible footpaths, 2 new play areas, pond improvements, and a new building with toilets as well, created on the town's largest open space. The council appointed a contractor to start the works earlier this year. Now it's confirmed the work has begun. It's all part of a £3 million project funded by the Government Towns Fund part. It's expected to be complete by summer next year. We'll stay with parks actually. Yet more accessible and inclusive play equipment will be installed at Rushcliffe Country Park. The play area will feature new auditory sensory play items, including eco chimes, a rain wheel, a musical bell tree and other interactive games. The play area's pathways will be resurfaced with tarmac featuring playful animal graphics as well. Rushcliffe Borough Council say the equipment and play features will be installed later this month, and that's all part of a broader investment into parks across the borough. Right, if you fancy going out in this spring sunshine, let's have a look at what you can get up to with your What's On guide. Now, there's tons of good stuff going on over the weekend, even more so from Monday really. Singer David Gray is stopping at Theatre Royal and Royal Concert Hall tonight. It's all part of his world tour. Starts at 7:30, he'll be wobbling in his head all over. Macbeth is at the Lace Market Theatre this week as well. Tickets are still available for that one. £13 for that. Curtains up at 7:30. And staying with the supernatural, it's Irish Book Club tonight at Five Leaves Bookshop. Tonight's book is Ghost in the Throat. Nobody wants that. It's by Dorian Nigirofa. It's about one woman freeing her voice by reaching into the past and finding another's. As always, as well tonight. It's Monday, isn't it? That means quiz night at Horn in Hand. At 7:30 is where you can win a grand prize of £50 for just 50p. So whatever you're up to today, have a brilliant one for you. Right. Now, a non-profit organisation, the Children's Book Project, is coming to Nottingham for the first time this month. It's got the aim of delivering over 9,000 books to schools across the city, but they need your help. Local communities across the city have been invited to run book collections with the aim of being able to hold free pop-up bookshops at 12 of the most disadvantaged schools across Nottingham. The project will allow children in these schools to choose and keep 2 beautiful books of their own. And for many, that will be the first time they've had books in their house. Partnerships Manager Kirsten Nell is here to tell us all the details. Kirsten, thank you for coming on. So this all relates to book poverty, which I must admit I wasn't really aware of. Can you just explain a bit about what that is, please?
Yes, sure. Thanks for having me. We know that nearly 1 million children in the UK don't own a single book of their own, which is quite a surprising fact for those of us who live in households where we share books commonly with our children and have grown up with books ourselves. But there are several families probably living within short distance of you that don't have books of their own. And yet over 50 million children's books are sold each year. So we know there are lots of books out there, and it's our mission to take those books that children have read and enjoyed and are now sitting on the shelf not doing anything, and gift them to the children that don't have any books of their own.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Do you know what, can I just say, as a parent, sometimes it's quite hard to get rid of the books because you read them when the kids were little, when they were toddlers. However, when you talk about them being pre-loved and then bringing love and bringing that enjoyment to someone who's never experienced it, it's a lot easier to then pass them on.
It is. I mean, there's magic in a book, there's power in a book. We all know the feeling when you put a small child on your lap and you surround your arms and you read a book together. The power of a book goes beyond literacy and language development. It's the social and emotional power that comes from that experience of sharing a book with another person. We always say there are some books that you keep that you want to keep in a box in the loft to share with your grandchildren. Those books that when you read them, it's almost like having a photo book, because you remember that experience so vividly of reading that book with your child. But there are lots of books that you have for which that isn't the case, and the magic in those books can be unlocked if you donate them books to us so we can give them to someone else.
So when we talk about pre-loved books, because we know what young children, when they love something, they're very physical with it, so it's not always pristine condition. What sort of condition are you looking for us to pass books on?
Well, we say we don't like to accept tatty books. So we don't accept foreign language books or religious books. And we like all of the books that are donated to us go through a quality control process. So what will be happening in Nottingham is that all of these amazing book drives that are being run in churches and schools and brownie packs even, and companies, lots of companies are running book drives for us, are going to be taken to Holme-Pierpoint at the end of the month, where the team there and the More Leisure and Serco Leisure team are hosting us, so that teams of volunteers are going to come and sort those books and weed out all the tatty ones that do make it through, so that the books that we give on will be in a beautiful condition, ready to be gifted.
Fantastic. Now, how do the children who receive them, how do they receive them? How do you decide where they go?
That's a really good question. So we're able to use government data to target our gifting really carefully. So we give to schools that have a very high proportion of children on free school meals. We also give to food banks, women's refuges, and we have a programme where we give to children with a parent living in prison. But so we target them very carefully, and we don't just send a load of books to the school. As part of that process that we're going to have at the end of the month, we make sure that we choose a selection of books so that every child in that school will be able to choose and keep 2 books that are appropriate to their age. Sorry, children coming home from school. And we don't just give them the books, we give them the tools to put on, as you said, a free pop-up bookshop. So it's kind of a creative festival with bunting and posters and tokens, so those children who are brilliantly able to suspend their disbelief really feel like they're going to a bookshop. Most of these children will not have been into a bookshop before. So we're giving them that experience of going and choosing how they're going to spend their token.
That's fantastic. It's a great initiative. I'm so glad that you've arrived in Nottingham, because it's a brilliant thing you're doing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Which is that I'd like to say a massive thank you to the community champions at the 3 Asda stores in Nottingham, Andy, Christine and Heather, because they're also allowing people to donate their books at Asda stores, and they're collecting them together and bringing them to the centre for sorting. So a huge thank you to them.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much. That's great. Now you know where to take them as well. What a brilliant thing. Right, this is something we've been talking about on the show. It's all about the flooding that has been around. Storm Babet in October 2023 caused a big problem, didn't it? Well, a government minister was in Eastwood today to hear how flood damage has devastated the homes. Jack Sims was there.
A sunny afternoon here in Eastwood. It's days like today that residents can take comfort, if only for a moment. That's because over the past 2 years, these streets have seen some of the worst of the increasingly wet winter weather. It began in 2023 with Storm Babet, which saw a heavy rainfall sodden more than 75 homes. Over the months that followed, these flooding incidents have continued, including as recently as January of this year. Although local authorities have provided relief and support, for locals, enough was enough, and called for stronger action against the floods. Today, the months of concern and worry were finally heard by Emma Hardy, the Minister of Flooding. She met with neighbours and local businesses about the impact the flooding has had on their lives.
Being flooded is a traumatic experience, and one of the main messages that residents have had to me is to understand the cause of the flooding, to understand exactly where the flooding came from, and that's one of the points I'm going to take away, go back to the Environment Agency and have that conversation, because only by really understanding what has caused the flooding in this area can we try and do something to mitigate it.
For Carol Bridgman and Rhoda Charlton, who have lived here for more than 40 years, this visit has given them some comfort that years of questions will finally be answered.
Sort of reassurance that things are being done to prevent such a tragedy in the future, because it's not just a physical tragedy as in your property's damaged and all the rest of it. There's very much a personal tragedy involved there.
The water was just flowing so much it was knocking us off his feet. That was quite dramatic.
Well, in terms of detail, we don't know a great deal, but I think that the positive thing is that she's here. But it's what comes next. It's always what comes next.
According to a report by Nottinghamshire County Council, the initial flooding by Storm Babet in October 2023 was caused by a culmination of factors. This included overflows from a nearby reservoir and blockages of debris in the nearby brook. The authority has recently invested more than £5 million to prevent flooding across the county. But for local MP Juliet Campbell, not even the strongest tides have been able to wash away this community spirit.
And they've been absolutely fantastic throughout this whole period. Neighbours have been supporting neighbours, but actually it is not down to them. We need to make sure that we have the proper facilities in place so this kind of damage doesn't happen again.
Although these new commitments cannot wash away the past, the currents of the community remain stronger than ever in Eastwood. Jack Sims, 4Knots TV.
Now, police have made 3 arrests in Worksop as they aim to keep the streets safe there. The suspects were all detained in the town centre last Tuesday. A 51-year-old man found in possession of the synthetic drug Mamba. Just 40 minutes later, patrolling officers spotted and apprehended a second person, a 37-year-old woman wanted for a series of shop thefts. And then another suspect, aged 42, was arrested on suspicion of carrying a knife and burglary. 11 suspects have been charged with drug offences after a series of warrants were executed by police. Officers searched addresses in Arnold, Bingham, Carlton, Pinxton, St Anne's and West Bridgeford on Monday, March the 17th and Tuesday the 18th. It's all part of an investigation into a drugs conspiracy. 11 people charged with various drug-related offences are due to appear in Nottingham Crown Court on April the 16th. Now, on the way, we are going to be talking to the people who are literally taking over Mansfield and also going to White Post Farm to see some kiddies plant some trees next. Hello, welcome back to Monday's show with me, Al Booth. Thank you for being here. This is what's happening in Notts today. The Nottingham bus station is closed for the rest of this week while it's resurfaced by the City Council. The Victoria bus station closed today and it will be closed until Sunday, so nearby York Street, Union Road and all 10 bus bays can be resurfaced. The pedestrian walkway through the bus station remains open as usual until midnight each day. Commuters have been advised to check with operators Stagecoach, Nottingham City Transport and Trent Barton for alternative stops. Council Leisure Group has partnered with a community organisation to provide safe, inclusive and physical activities for women. Gedling Leisure is partnering with group Her Spirit to introduce weekly strength training classes that are exclusive to women. They're called Couch to Kilos and are available at facilities including Calverton, Carlton, Fulham and Red Hill Leisure Centres. The aim of the project is to empower women, with Gedling Borough Council saying the link up also gives people free access to a Her Spirit 12-month membership. Right, let's move on now. And we're going from exercise to nature. You could do both, you know. It's because of a new conservation site at White Post Farm. It's getting local schools to come and plant various trees, and it will create the perfect blend between education and environment. Pupils from Farnsfield St Michael's Primary School got stuck in, sowing the seeds of a sustainable future. And we went along to speak with teachers, pupils and the farm about how the conservation work is vital for the next generation.
It was Simon, who is one of the owners of the farm, had an idea to bring a conservation area at the farm in at one of our top animal paddocks near the cows, and just to open it up to some more wildlife. We work quite closely with a group from the Wildlife Trust in Nottinghamshire, and yeah, so just thought bring the wildlife in. It's a great place to educate children, and we're going to have a bit of an outdoor classroom, and we find it really important that we can bring these guys in and educate them on conservation, because these are the guys that are going to follow it on throughout their life. Yes, they've been brilliant. They've really engaged. They've been working with Farmer Mark and Farmer Craig, learning about the mini beasts, so learning a bit about the wildlife that we might see here. They're planting trees with Mark, and yeah, it's been brilliant. They've really got involved.
Yeah, wonderful. We have close links with White Post Farm because obviously it's in the same village as the school, so it's wonderful to see that we can come out here and support them in their work as well as them supporting us with our curriculum. Do lots of work at school in terms of outdoor education, but to be able to come out here and the children experience these surroundings and just be part of this, knowing that they're going to leave a legacy here today and be able to come back to this when they visit with their children, grandchildren in the future. So yeah, it's wonderful to be part of this. So part of our our school is really about thinking about our environment, but not just close to home, not just what's in our schools and in our homes, but we're broadening that out right globally. And the children are great ambassadors for that, and they'll be the difference. And we keep saying to them that the little differences are what's going to make the big changes for the future.
I think it was very fun, and I like helping like the White Post Farm to grow what they would like to grow. Never knew that you actually had to put these plastic things, so I learnt something new today, which is good. I liked it a lot because we're helping the environment grow and develop even better.
Right, let's stay with good news for youngsters. Let's keep it positive, because Mansfield's biggest youth festival is back this weekend. Takeover Festival 2025 is returning to Four Seasons Shopping Centre and Mansfield Central Library on Saturday. And it gives young people the chance to take over locations all across the shopping centre with art activities and live performances, all sorts of stuff going on, hands-on workshops you can see as well. Partnerships Manager Vanessa Oxspring is here to tell you all about it, rather than me just reading a list. Get you to say what's going on. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
What's going to be the highlight in your mind? What are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing about Takeover is that it's the young people that are co-creating. So they're the producers, they're getting really involved in it so we've been working with schools and colleges and Nottingham Trent University. They're doing some of the producing, and it's really about them, what they want to see for their local area and what they want to do around kind of the arts and creativity and enterprise. And so the most exciting thing is that they're taking ownership of this festival.
That's an amazing thing, isn't it? Because, you know, as adults, it's quite easy. We want to do things for young people, but quite often you get carried away doing it and not actually getting them involved. So what can we see? I just read out a couple there, but there's so much going on, isn't there?
Yeah, so the main core of Takeover is that we've been working with artists and schools and colleges, and they've been working for like 8 to 12 weeks on projects. So there's things, and they've all been working on a theme which is called The Wild Within. So they're taking the outside and bringing it inside. So they're taking over disused shops. The main one is Topshop, the old Topshop, in the Four Seasons. And then the Mall area will have like an open stage. So we've got hip hop performances happening, hip hop workshops, singing, some drama performances. But then we've also got like the young people that have been working for like 8 to 12 weeks have been making their own like photography exhibition. They have been creating their own visual arts workshops. We've got t-shirt making. We've got drama performances. So there's kind of a real mix of stuff happening, live music. And installations. So there's going to be loads. So it's 11 till 4, but there's quite a lot to do and to explore.
It's a real takeover.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
takeover.
Absolute takeover.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not, you know, it's been there before. So when it's all done and dusted, and you know, because there's all the build-up, isn't it? And there's the actual event. I mean, what's the kind of? Do you get to talk to the young people afterwards, and that sense of their achievement? It's been amazing.
Yeah, and so we started it last year. And we were successful with a big Arts Council funding, and this year Mansfield District Council are supporting it. And it's the important thing that we found last year was that the young people were so involved and so a part of this festival, but what happens next? Yeah. And so we spoke to them, and it was about them getting their kind of industry experience. So a number of those young people from last year have gone on to, so the Motorpoint Arena have been supporting them and getting the industry work experience. So these are opportunities, it doesn't just finish at the festival. Yeah. The young people want to get more experience in the creative industries. Nottingham Playhouse are involved as well, and Nonsuch and Inspire. And so it's those things that we're really interested in as well. It's like they've had this experience, but what happens next?
Yeah, it must be amazing. I mean, when we say young people as well, what ages are we talking about?
So the young people we've been mainly focusing on are 14 to 25, but on the day there'll be younger from 11 upwards.
Wow.
So yeah, there's quite a bit of a mix
What
of
an
ages.
experience to do that
Yeah.
at like
Yeah.
start of secondary school age.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of this also counts towards if they're doing their GCSE, if they're doing enterprise, if they're doing art GCSE. So what we want it to do is be something that's embedded and gives them this experience of taking over a disused shop, but also supports their the curriculum and the kind of their education journey.
That's fantastic. Just remind us again, I mean, we know where it's going to be because it's
Yeah.
taken over the whole of Mansfield, but
Yeah.
just remind us the timings of the day.
Yeah, so it's 11 till 4 on Saturday. The main focus is around the Four Seasons Shopping Centre and also the Mansfield Library. So if you go to the Four Seasons Shopping Centre, right in the middle, you'll see lots of banners for takeover.
You can't miss it.
And you can't miss it.
It's going to be brilliant. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming
All
on.
right, thank you.
Sounds amazing, doesn't it? We'll stay with creativity, actually, because last week we aired the latest episode of the Notts TV Book Club. The book of the month is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, and it's the story of sisters Effia and Essie. They were born in the era of slave trading in the Gold Coast, which is modern-day Ghana. Each section of the book leaps a generation, and then you can piece together the effects of that original division. You can catch up with what Becky Cullen and her guests thought to the book at various points across the month right on Notts TV, or you can go to Notts TV Official on YouTube, where you'll see this.
Zadie Smith describes this book as an intelligent, beautiful and healing read. But what did our panel think? Okay, so panel, we need your opinions. First of all, let's start off. So this book leaps a generation each time. How did you find that in terms of, was it compelling? Was it confusing? What kind of effect did that have on you as readers? Who wants to start off? Jay.
I'm a big nerd. Like just in
You're a big nerd?
Yeah, just
Okay,
in general, all sorts of
confessing.
nerds.
You can put that on your title at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that's all that needs to be there. And it almost felt like time travel kind of thing, because the amount of research that she must have put into all of these different eras over the, was it 250, 300 year span or whatever it is. Each one felt so like I was there in each moment. It felt like I was like time traveling throughout it, which I thought was really interesting because there were certain bits.
Now, in case you missed it earlier, here's your picture of the day. It's so beautiful. We're showing it twice. Captured by Coops on Instagram. Took this one. Thank you for showing that one. You can send us yours as well. Notts_TV. Fancy doing that? Weather-wise, it's been lovely today, isn't it? Highs of 15 today. It's the same for tomorrow as well. Just dropping to 5 overnight. We're going to see more sunshine. Into Wednesday, there'll be a little less sunshine, a bit more cloudy, but it's going to be highs of 16 degrees. And then the clocks change, don't they? It's like summer is within touching distance. That's at the weekend. Don't do it before then. Right, thank you for being with me. I hope you're well. Just remind you can get in your springtime shots that we'll share on the show at Notts_TV on your socials. Right, have a good evening, whatever you get up to. I will be back with you tomorrow for more Notts Today at 5:30. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.